felt the need to do kind of like a PSA today. I've been hearing all over TikTok for the past week or so that the US is having a major problem with a rabies resurgence. Not only in our domesticated animals, so our dogs, our cats, our pets, but also even in humans. And this is a really big deal. And I'm not sure enough people know how big a deal it is. So we're going to talk about it. Up until recently, rabies was mostly eradicated in the US thanks to strict rules about vaccinating our pets, to the point where globally, the largest vector species is usually dogs. That's different here in the US because of our vaccine mandates. In the US, the most common spreaders of rabies that we call vectors are bats, skunks, foxes, and raccoons. And that is entirely thanks to our vaccination programs. Unfortunately, though, the anti-vax movement is also spreading to people's pets. And there are people out there who are genuinely concerned that their pets will get autism from their vaccines, which, right off the top, I want to say, first off, isn't possible. You don't get autism, period. But also, pets do not display autism. It's not a thing. Second, there is only one way to test for rabies. One way, and it is truly horrific. The only way to confirm a rabies diagnosis is, trigger warning, to decapitate the pet, remove their brain, and then slice it up and look at it under the microscope to find the proof of the changes that rabies makes in the brain. That's it. There is no blood test, there's no urine test, there is nothing else that can tell you if your pet has been exposed to rabies or has it. Now, I don't tell you this just to scare you, though I do want people to be scared because this is scary. But I'm telling you this because a lot of people are under the mistaken assumption that there is some kind of test that can be done on their living animal, and there just isn't. So they think they have this added layer of a safety net to keep their pet safe in case of something going wrong. That's not necessarily true. In some states, it would be required immediately if a vaccination certificate cannot be procured right after a bite, in order to make sure that the human being that was bitten does not wind up potentially dealing with an active rabies case and then therefore dying. Because once those symptoms show up, it is 100% fatal every single time. And there may be people in my comments that try to point out I think 2 or 3 people who have gone through some kind of very rigorous protocol after displaying rabies symptoms and have survived it. Statistically, those people don't exist because I can count them on one hand, and there are thousands upon thousands of cases of rabies globally every single year. So as far as the statistics go, there aren't enough people that have been able to survive that are measurable, if that makes any kind of sense. Now, I know that in the various animal circles, there is a lot of debate about whether or not we are over-vaccinating our pets. I'm not going to dive into that. It's way too controversial, and to be perfectly frank, I don't know enough about that in order to give an opinion, an educated one at least. What I will say, though, is if you have to choose one vaccine to give to your pet, make sure you give them the rabies vaccine. There isn't anything more horrifying in the world than rabies. I would not wish that slow, horrible, agonizing death on my worst enemy. It is the closest thing that we have to an actual like zombie virus. A person or animal infected with rabies is not themselves anymore. Their brain has quite literally been hijacked by the virus, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So whether you think we're over-vaccinating our animals, or whether you have become one of the people who thinks that animals are going to get autism from a vaccine, neither of those things are as horrifying as the possibility that your pet could wind up infected with rabies, and even worse, spreading it to other pets or other people. I get full-grown adults throwing literal temper tantrums in my grooming salon quite frequently because rabies is the only vaccine that I do require, and they don't like that. I will die on this hill, though. I won't work with an animal that is not vaccinated against rabies, especially in my very rural area where our animals do encounter foxes, raccoons, and skunks on a regular basis. And especially if they go outside unsupervised, you may not know until it's too late. So please, for every animal professional that has to encounter all of your animals, please keep us all safe, and yourself, and at the very least make sure that your pet is vaccinated for rabies.